Meeting to order today of the June 28, 2021 Village of Villa Park Village Board. Clerk Konecki, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Silella?
Here.
Trustee Corkery?
Here.
Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar? Here. Trustee Murphy? Here. Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazone?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item is public comments on agenda items. Clerk Konecki, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, we have Cheryl Tucker, agenda item 5, and also 9C.
Hello, Cheryl Tucker, 434 South Cornell. I'm just back here to, again, ask the board to, on the request to, on table up 4 on epoxy C, and to please consider making the changes on 9C tonight, which are both on the board. The other thing is, I was just wondering if all the future agenda items coming to the board will be voted on under satisfying the Villa Park strategy plan 229 to 230, 219 to 2020. Somehow I don't think more than 69 liquor licenses in Villa Park is what the committee had in mind in a long-term master financial plan funding the village needs. I know that was listed under there. I also don't think the variance for 621 North Yale Avenue was part of that short-term goal for aggressive and replacement and development planning for sewers and water main. So I'm a little concerned that every item tonight is listed as satisfying that Villa Park strategy plan for 2019 and 2020. So as it comes forward, maybe we need to look a little more in deep on what they're for. Thank you.
If you like.
Okay, Manager Keener just going to make a few comments to address that.
It's a very good question. In fact, staff and I have talked about the strategic plan many times, and over probably, I'd say probably the last 12 months or so, we came across some folks that didn't understand or didn't realize that we did have a strategic plan. So I made a decision to put the strategic plan goals and items that I thought or staff thought that they would satisfy. So the strategic plan for the liquor license items doesn't have anything to do with the number. It has everything to do with financial matters. Because if we have, no matter how many liquor licenses we have, there's still sales tax, there could be places of eatings tax, and that is a strategic plan goal, is to satisfy the financial needs of the village to get things done. And that is a distinct plan goal for the 2020 strategic plan. And additionally, for the last item for the board meeting this evening, it's a motion to sustain or overrule the denial of a variance. So the village has an aggressive short-term complex strategic plan goal to continue using an aggressive infrastructure replacement development plan to cover sewer, water main, streets, etc. That street in 11A, which is North Yale, was completed at a cost of $932,715.95. And 11A, Your Honor and Board, is a very unique item that requests a variance to actually cut into that reconstructed roadway to put a water service to the opposite side of North Yale, and they would have to trench from one side completely to the other side. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Manager.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more comments?
No more signed up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, amendments to the agenda. Okay.
But it's
So-
on this sheet right here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
Karen Solom, Villa Park. Sorry, it's taped. I wanted to address two items under 5A. Section 6, 11.2, under permitted uses for outside seating. Two things in this write-up from the Community Development Department. Number 7 says, "No entertainment, whether live, recorded, or otherwise, is permitted in the outdoor seating area." And this is for eating and drinking establishments. And I really find it difficult to understand from a community that really likes to have a good time. You know, we have our live entertainment at Cortese Park. We've made that a priority. I believe it's in the month of August on Thursdays. I could be wrong. It's for a reasonable amount of time. It's live music. It's loud. It's fun. It is a great gathering. But I find this difficult to understand why we would want to make things so restrictive for our village and our business owners to have no entertainment, whether live, like piped in music, just ambient music. I think it's a contradiction. Secondary, the outside seating at the eating and drinking establishment is limited to the amount of months that you can have it. And I think as long as it's not on a community surface that needs to be shoveled, if it's on the business owner's property, I think that offering it to their guests, and if their guests want to sit outside and have a hot chocolate or, a Bailey's with their coffee, I think that should be up to the establishment to determine that. And, keep it nice looking like they do all year long. It can have some limitations on it, but I just feel as though this whole ordinance is very restrictive for businesses, and I would like to see that changed. So I would encourage you to really look at this more in depth. I don't think that enough time has been given to this entire thing. There's a lot packed into
30
this.
seconds.
And it doesn't seem as though you've had any input from businesses as well, which I would like to see. And I would like to see, if we have something like this, two things: a strike through of the old ordinance and what the new ordinance is that's being proposed, and then to have each one under their own vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to speak on agenda items?
Doesn't want to stop them. Hello? Sorry. I've done it, but it doesn't. I'm sorry. Technology is the person.
Okay.
Yes, I need to be able to.
Sorry. I just want to respond to my finger.
Okay, item number 4, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Justin Schlinsky, 436 North, wow, okay. 436 North Fulton. Just a point of clarification. I believe what Ms. Solom was addressing was under Article 6, temporary uses, 6.11.2 underscore G underscore number 7. The item that was previously addressed is currently written into the code. It's not an item up for modification as it was presented through planning and zoning, nor did planning and zoning ever make mention to modify that one. That is as it currently stands. So that is not necessarily before you for any modification to the proposal itself. Believe that the term entertainment would actually have to be modified at an ordinance level outside of planning and zoning. The definition may be something that is my understanding is outside of planning and zoning's purview. So that is actually at a trustee board level.
No.
No, you're indicating that the term
They
entertainment.
would, anything in that section would be a code amendment. And any text amendment, no matter how small, goes before the P and Z.
So
The two
the-
items that were brought up are text, verbiage from the text, so any change.
Right, but the
there-
term entertainment was not proposed at planning and zoning. In addition, noise or outdoor entertainment or the general definitions of issues of outdoor noise and things as we see in sub 8, where it says noises to comply with regulations found in Article 6 of Chapter 15 nuisances, that is not in front of planning and zoning, nor was it.
Correct.
That is at a more board-centric level,
Correct.
just for your edification. Thank you.
Okay, final call. Anybody else? Okay, now we're going to move on to 4, amendments to the agenda. We have any amendments proposed here? Seeing none, we will move to item number 5, 5A. Take from the table an ordinance amending Appendix C zoning ordinance of the Village Municipal Code of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois. Andrew Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. During the May 24, 2021 Village Board meeting, a majority of the Village Board of Trustees voted to table an ordinance to approve proposed zoning text amendments. These text amendments are intended to clarify code requirements, better address best practices and/or current trends, including adding regulations concerning permanent outdoor storage containers. To return this item for board consideration, a majority of the Village Board of Trustees must vote in favor of removing it from the table. Staff recommends removing it from the table for consideration. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for this?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Trustee Patrick, we have a second? A second. Trustee Solella? Okay, any discussion?
Before discussion, I can't get into my computer.
I'm sorry?
I can't even get into my computer,
Oh, okay.
and it's an issue. Is there a technical person? Because I
we-
signed in just before coming in, and now it doesn't sign in here, and I think Jack is having a similar issue.
Oh, really? Nobody can get in?
No, I'm in.
Well, I'm in, but
Okay.
it is being weird, but it will work for the meeting.
Okay. All right.
Mr. President, I can lend her my laptop that's
Okay.
access. I
Would you
don't
like
need.
that, or would you?
No,
Can you just-
I'm just gonna go ahead and get a copy of that,
Okay.
but, you know, it's just, this happened during the last meeting also.
Did it?
Yeah, and then it sorted out as soon as I got home, but then it doesn't each time I get to the meeting.
Okay. Okay. Seeing no discussion, Trustee Kozar.
I would like to see this taken off the table, but put on the agenda in executive session for the next meeting.
It is not a subject that may be discussed in executive session.
So what is the mechanism to be able to basically have a roundtable and go into all of these ordinances? We just have to do it as a board, sitting here?
Yes, but let's back up. For example, some of the comments that were made about this entire package could not be voted on tonight, even if you didn't vote on this ordinance, because every time you change a text, a verbiage of the zoning code, it goes back to the P and Z. So what you most likely, and I'm projecting, I'm guessing, is the changes that are in here, you can vote on them, take them off the table and vote on them. You can also request further text amendments along the lines, for example, that we heard comments on. Those text amendments would then go to the P and Z. They would comment on it and bring us their comments. Anything to do with zoning first goes to P and Z before it comes up here. So you can vote on this about containers and still make a request for additional text amendments to the code.
So we can vote on this for the containers.
And that doesn't prohibit you from requesting other text amendments.
Right. So as long as, what you're saying is if there is even one change in what is presented to us, it then has to go back down to P and Z and then come back up.
Not any change of a subject that was the discussion of P and Z does not have to go back to P and Z. They heard it. If you want to take their comments on just those changes and massage them any way you want, that's okay. But you can't start something new that wasn't at one time discussed before P and Z.
So have these ordinances not all been discussed with P and
The
Z?
only portion, and we have Community Development Director and we have our Chair of P and Z, but to the best of my knowledge, is we do have in our packet the transcript.
Right.
And we do have in our packet the old ordinance
Right.
with the redlined.
So there-
Anything redlined is what they discussed. Anything not redlined, they didn't discuss. So that would, if you want to change to anything that's not redlined, it goes back to P and Z.
So there are 15 items that are up for change today. And I have read the transcript and I was present at the P and Z meeting, and I don't believe everything that was discussed is necessarily put in a red line. There was dialogue and there was discussion on certain items that may or may not have actually made itself to a reduced 8-word red line. So when you're saying anything that was discussed, we would have to dissect the transcript. So that being said, I'm suggesting that I make a motion that we continue this for the next meeting, and we can have discussion on this and certain changes that anybody here may want to see in the future. Then give us between now and the next meeting to kind of fine tune those and then take a direction at the next meeting.
Okay, let me understand, let me restate if I may. So you're saying that you want to take this off the table and, for the next meeting, take this off the table for consideration at the next meeting. But at that meeting, you just want to discuss those items that are redlined, the actual changes as recommended, we believe were recommended, and we have no reason not to believe they were recommended since the Plan Commission has had the advantage of seeing the revised ordinance.
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that we have 15 items that are up for consideration today. In those 15 items, there are subsections, so there may be multiple items within those 15 items. What I would like to see today is us take a walk through all 15 of these items, and we can talk about anything that anybody wants to change, supports, doesn't support. Then we bring it back. Either from here, we go right back to P and Z, depending on what the discussion is, or we bring it back up the following meeting. There's a lot packed in.
So you're saying there's 15 red line items that you want
No,
discussed?
there are 15 sections that are being changed. And I don't think anybody, I think there are people on this board, myself included, that was not aware that the only thing that we can discuss are the red line items. So now we have a new piece of information
No, I didn't.
brought into this.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
I would like to start with 2.3, talk about it. I'd like to then go to 2.6.5 and talk about it. Then 6.10.2 and talk about it. Or, in the alternative, we table this to next week and we divide these into 15 different votes. And we go through each individual item. There's no point in rushing to put forth a bad product. I know that some of the members of P and Z have come up and said, we want to get this through because we put a lot of work into it. This requires a lot of work. That's what we're all here for. Just because we put a lot of work into it doesn't mean that it has to go through. We have to do our best, and we can only do our best to get it right. And that requires certain transparency, and that requires certain discussion and certain dialogue to do it. So I'm asking, how do I put that in a motion that harder stuff as it goes.
So, your motion would be, to take it off the table to the next regular meeting, but to have it presented as 15 separate items. But you're only talking about the redlined items.
For now.
Yeah, because we can't discuss any that were not redlined without going back to P and Z.
Any new
And you know-
ideas?
We can discuss them, we can't vote on them.
Yeah. Well, we'd have to go to P
Like,
and
how
Z.
else would one bring it up if we can't discuss it?
You would ask it to be put on the agenda, any item that you would like discussed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
Deepa, you were raising.
yeah,
I'm not recognizing you, I'm just,
Yeah.
okay,
I'm,
I would like to,
I don't know what the word was, but I'm
Okay.
relenting my,
no, you're pointing Nick towards me, got it. Okay, Nick, can I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes. I think, I'm not suggesting 15 different, because that seems a lot, but I am suggesting there are sections that are very, very different in this legal thing, and we do need to split it up into multiple sections. I felt that there were 5 different overall topics addressed that are very different within this ordinance, and because they are very different, they each have a flavor, and we need to address them separately. So there's a section, for instance, that was changed on commercial properties that is separate from a section that was changed on residential properties. There's something about driveways, which is totally different. There is something that was changed by planning and zoning on, which was a redlined item. I only looked at the redlined items, on the duties of our urban development director. You know, we have 5 different topics within this one ordinance change. And that is an issue. It's too many things at once that are not really connected, and I think at least addressing each one separately within those sections, they're already kind of sectionalized, would be better, which would be about 5 sections in my opinion.
Well, that's going to be difficult, difficult to put into a motion, but, yeah. Trustee Patrick. Hang on. Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I think probably one of the easiest things that we could do here is I can withdraw my original motion and add a date to our next stated meeting at the end of that motion. So just remove it from the table so that way we could bring it on at our next stated meeting. That gives us 2 weeks to discuss this, and any other things that we want to address as far as things that aren't redlined, those are things that we could just go over and then present them at any time to P and Z for getting their advice on.
What, excuse me, hang on.
That's what we're discussing.
All right,
That's what we're doing.
so what I would recommend is, and if you want to do it, is vote on this now, and then when we come to 9C, is then you can discuss about bringing,
That's a
tabling
good
it till
idea.
next week.
Take it off
Or
the
to-
tape, yeah.
Take it off the table, vote on it in 5A, and then when we get to the resolution, then you can ask to table it until the next meeting.
And with some direction that you're thinking about.
Oh, we're voting on
Hang on,
putting
hang
it
on,
back
excuse
on
me.
the table?
Hang on, please. Trustee Kozar.
what I heard Kevin saying, and I just think it's more direct, is just to make a motion to untable it to a date certain.
Yeah.
And that date certain would just be the next meeting.
Either way,
Yeah. Okay.
and we don't have to do it a second time.
Then we don't- Okay, all right. Okay, Trustee Kumar. We-
Yeah, I think that's what we want to do, vote on it to untable it till the next meeting.
And that's acceptable to do it that way?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So if you would, so Trustee Patrick, if you want to
Mr. President,
amend.
I'd like to
amend
amend
your,
my original motion. I will make a motion to remove it from the table until our next stated meeting at July 12th, I believe that is, July 12th.
Okay. Okay, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, Trustee Salala. Okay. Any other, just, since Well, it's an amended, so we don't have to vote on the first one.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Trustee Corby,
So will we be discussing this today at all? Or
No.
it's just going right to the next
it will
meeting?
be tabled until July 12th.
If it gets voted on. Yes.
Is there, can I be recognized?
Sure.
Is there not a mechanism to start a conversation, start a dialogue on these now? Because we'll be in the same position, I fear, that we were because we tabled it originally, and we haven't had the ability to have discussion as a board.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We can discuss it we discuss it in 9C then?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
If you do not remove it from the table, okay, or you remove it from the table to next meeting, you may discuss it then later in the agenda, but you can't vote on anything. Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we will have a vote on the amended motion. Clerk Konecki.
Can you repeat what the amended motion is, please?
The amended motion is to take it off the table and move it to July 12th meeting.
Thank you.
So we will have basically have 9C on July 12th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ready? President
Yes,
Sloan?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Stalella?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
No.
And President Kazon?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we will bring that up on July 12th, but we'll also do some discussion on it today. Okay, we will now move to item 6A. We have a new applicant for the Cable TV Commission, Leslie Allison, CI, for June 28th, 2021 through April 30th, 2024. Do we have a motion for that? Trustee Corkery?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that second.
Trustee Patrick, a second. Any questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Stalella?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar? Yes. Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazon?
Yes. Okay, we will move on to item 7A and B, consent agenda, minutes from the board meeting held on June 14th, 2021, and bill listings for the week of June 14th, 2021, and June 21st, 2021, in the amount of $1,589,432.31. Do we have a motion? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee
I would like
Kumar.
to second that
Okay.
motion.
Any questions, discussion?
Consent agenda is without discussion.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay. Clerk Konecki, roll,
Okay.
please.
Trustee Stalella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazon?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 8A, first reading on an ordinance to be codified. An ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, increasing the number of Class D1 full package convenience store liquor licenses for the package sale of alcoholic liquor. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Owner Stephen P. George of Villa Park Heroes, Inc. at 340 West St. Charles Road, doing business as Villa Park Exxon, would like to sell prepackaged alcohol to patrons. Currently, Villa Park Heroes uses a Class H liquor license to sell alcoholic beverages. If approved, this ordinance would create a Class D1 full package convenience store liquor license that allows the sale of alcoholic liquors to be sold in original packages not for consumption on the premise. This ordinance will decrease the number of H liquor licenses by 1 and increase the total number of Class D liquor licenses to 3, and the village would have 69 total licenses. This item satisfies the long-term complex strategic plan goal, continue to follow a long-term master financial plan to fund all village needs. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Since this is the first reading, this is discussion only unless someone wants to bring up a motion to waive the second reading. Anyone? Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to waive the second reading.
Okay, thank you. Any second on that? Trustee Corkery? Thank you.
All right, this is to waive second reading.
To waive the
It's
second reading.
first reading, right.
Correct. Okay, any questions, discussion? Clerk Kornecki, so this is, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee
I
Kumar.
have a question, actually. I need to be enlightened on the classes. Class D1 versus Class H. What's the difference?
Major Keenan?
Your Honor, I believe the difference is it's packaged beer and wine for the H and it's spirits for the D1.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have a vote on waiving the second reading. Clerk Kornecki?
Yes. Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
I will abstain.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, so now we will move on, motion to
Second reading.
the second reading of the ordinance. Do we have a motion for that? Oh, Trustee Corkery? Motion, second, Trustee Kumar? Okay, any questions, discussion? Okay, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
I will abstain.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, so that passes. Okay, moving on to item 8B, an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, increasing the number of Class B package licenses for package sale of alcoholic liquor. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Villa Park Tobacco and Liquors has been sold. The current Class B liquor license cannot be transferred to the new owner. Harsh Patel, owner of Kano 2021 Inc. at 137 East North Avenue, Unit B, doing business as Villa Park Tobacco and Liquors, submitted the necessary documentation and has been approved by the local Liquor Control Commissioner to acquire a liquor license. If approved, this ordinance would replace the Class B package liquor license that allows the sale of alcoholic liquors to be sold in the original packages, not for consumption on the premises. This ordinance then keeps the number of Class B package liquor licenses at 7 and 69 total licenses within the village. This item satisfies the long-term complex strategic plan goal, continue to follow long-term master financial plan to fund all village needs. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Major. This is like ordinance 8A. If we want to have a motion for a second, or to waive the second. Trustee Corkery? We have a second?
I will second that.
Trustee Kumar? Any questions, comment?
This is to waive second.
To waive second, correct. Clerk Kornecki, please. Vote.
Okay. Trustee Kozar?
Abstain.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion to, for the ordinance itself. Motion on the table for that? Trustee
I'll
Murphy.
make that motion.
Thank you. Trustee Corkery, second? Any
Yes.
questions, comments? Trustee Corkery?
Just so I'm totally clear on what's happening here, we're just replacing the old Class B that's not useful with another one. for
That's
the new-
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. New owner, so you can't just transfer it, you have to delete the one and then add the second. Okay. Any questions? Okay, Clerk Kornecki?
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Abstain.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, moving on to ordinances. Item 9A, an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, establishing temporary executive powers pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 3, Sections 8-301 through 308 of the Villa Park Municipal Code, 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 of the Illinois Municipal Code, and 20 ILCS 3305-11 of the Illinois Emergency Act. This ordinance extends the temporary executive powers contained in Ordinance 4227, approved by the Village Board on June 14th, 2021, until such time that the Village Board can reconvene in an open meeting. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Trustee Salella, second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Kazal?
Yes. Moving on to 9B, an ordinance amending the Villa Park Municipal Code to grant emergency powers during a state of emergency to the village president of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Illinois Municipal Code 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 states that the corporate authorities may by ordinance grant the village president the extraordinary authority to exercise such powers as may be reasonably necessary to respond during a state of emergency. This ordinance limits such extraordinary power until the adjournment of the first regular meeting of the corporate authorities after the state of emergency is declared. In the event another state of emergency is expressed by the governor of the state of Illinois, the Illinois Department of Health and Human Services, or the DuPage County Health Department, the village president is authorized to declare a state of emergency exists in the village of Villa Park. As an example, in the instance that the governor of the state of Illinois declared a state of emergency between village board meetings by following the requirements in this ordinance, the village president would have extraordinary powers until the next village board meeting. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. As we've had before, this is discussion only, the first reading, unless we want to vote to waive the second reading. Anyone wants to make a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to waive the second reading.
Trustee Patrick, we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Salala? Okay, you vote on waiving the second reading. Trustee, or Clerk Krenicki?
Okay, Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
No.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazal?
Yes. Okay. So now if we have a motion for the ordinance itself. Motion. Okay, Trustee Patrick,
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
thank you. Second on that?
I'll second.
Yep. Trustee Salala. Any questions or comments? Trustee Corkery?
So the purpose of this change essentially is to make it so that in the event of another disaster like COVID, that we don't have to do that last vote again and again?
That's correct.
It just doesn't seem quite necessary to me.
That has been a part of the Illinois Municipal Code from the beginning of time. And most towns have it in their code book so that when it comes up, now remember, that power is only there for 2 weeks until the next board meeting. But we never had it in our code book.
Sure.
And several other towns didn't have it. But the COVID crisis brought it to our attention. So we have been doing it every 2 weeks. And we'd have to continue that because our state of emergency is still not over and won't be over until the end of July. We never have to do that again. If there is a state of emergency, the village president would have to notify the clerk why and how, because some higher up, either the county or the states declare an emergency, and report to this board immediately if he's forced to take any action.
Okay.
So it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. We don't know. I mean, this COVID thing, we could come out of it in July and go back into it in September. Please, God, no.
Yes, definitely. It just seems that the vote every week doesn't take up too much time anyway. So. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Krenicki, please call the roll.
Okay, Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
No.
President Kazal?
Yes. Okay, so that passes. Okay, now we're moving on to item 9C, ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending certain provisions of Appendix C, basic zoning ordinance of the Village Villa Park Municipal Code. Andrew Keener.
Mr. President, may I address
Sure.
the board? This is now not an action item because it is not on this agenda. It won't be on the agenda to 2 weeks. Might I suggest that it be moved to the end of the agenda so that the action items can be taken, and then the board would be free to discuss this item as board members would choose? Because it's just a discussion item now.
Okay, so.
Is that all
Do
right?
we need a motion on that, or?
No, we do not need a motion because it's not an action item as stated on our agenda. Just with recognition that you would allow a discussion at the
Okay.
end of our regular agenda.
That's good.
All right, so why don't we do that? We'll move that item 9C till after item 11A,
Right.
right? Okay. Move on to resolutions. Item 10A, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a final change order number 5 to the contract with Mickles Corporation of Brownsville, Wisconsin for construction of the 2019 sewer rehabilitation program for deduction in the amount of $6,195.78. Andrew Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village has a contract with Michaels Corporation of Brownsville, Wisconsin, in the amount of $1,117,449.91 for construction of the 2019 sewer rehabilitation program. Proposed final change order number 5 consists of the final balancing of contract quantities as measured in the field. The net amount of proposed final change order number 5 is a deduction in the amount of $6,195.78 for an adjusted final contract amount of $1,111,254.13. Staff recommends approval of this resolution. This item satisfies the short-term complex strategic plan goal, continue using aggressive infrastructure replacement development plan that covers sewers, water mains, streets, etc. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have a motion for that? For the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Solella, we have a second?
I'll second it.
Trustee Kumar? Any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, roll call, please.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. On to item 10B, resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a proposal with John Neary Construction Company, Inc. of Addison, Illinois, for the emergency repair to the sanitary service line at 102 West Plymouth Street, Villa Park, in the amount not to exceed $28,600. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Village of Villa Park Fire Department has been experiencing sewer backups at Station 82 at 102 West Plymouth Street. After an investigation by the Public Works Department, it was determined that the sanitary service was separated under Princeton Avenue and needs repair. Due to the depth of the sanitary sewer, which is 18 to 20 feet at the point of the repair, and the location of the water main and the proximity of the sewer service, the work needed to be contracted out. John Neary Construction Company, Inc. provided a quote to repair the location in an amount not to exceed $28,600. This item satisfies the long-term complex strategic plan goal, continue to use a disciplined maintenance plan and schedule for village infrastructure. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Manager. Okay, do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion. Thank you.
Trustee Solella, second. Any questions or comments? I know I did have a couple questions for the manager regarding this, and hopefully it may come in under 28.6, but it's that's a very deep water, or sewer line there, and takes some heavy equipment to get down that deep, and John Neary's been around a long time, they've done a lot of work around, so I think that's a good thing to get this done. Okay, Clerk Konecki.
Okay, Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Excuse me. Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, item 11A, motion to sustain or overturn. Motion to sustain or overrule the denial of a variance for 622 North Yale Avenue by the Public Works Director. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Score Investment LLC is petitioning the village board for a variance in accordance with Chapter 13, Article 11, Section 13-1121 of the Village Code to be allowed for a utility cut for a new home construction at 621 North Yale Avenue. This location is a vacant lot that was previously attached to 625 North Yale, and Scora is looking to develop the lot. North Yale Avenue was improved in the fall of 2020 at a cost of $932,715.95 with reconstruction of the roadway, including new water main, new curbs and gutters, new roadway, stone base, and pavement, along with other associated work. The Public Works Director denied the request for a variance per Chapter 13, Article 11, Section 13-1116 of the Village Municipal Code, which states, "Open cuts to the pavement are not permitted for roadways that have been reconstructed in the past 7 years or resurfaced in the past 3 years." This ordinance was put in place to protect the investment the village made in the improvement of the streets. This item satisfies the short-term complex strategic plan goal, continue using an aggressive infrastructure replacement development plan that covers sewer, water main, streets, etc. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Murphy, do we have a second? Trustee Corkery? Any questions or comments? Trustee Slow?
I'm just wondering if, opposed to open cutting our new pavement, that the alternative of jack and bore has been proposed, is to get under our roadway without disrupting it as an option.
Director Guerrero, would you like to address that?
So I think the issue here is that there was a new water main that was installed, so there is no service currently. So they would still have to open a pit to get to the main to actually tap the main with their corporal, even though if they bore under,
Right.
they would still. And the new water main used to be in the Western Parkway. However, with the reconstruction, we had to move it in, so it's actually under
so I know
pavement.
where you're at,
And
okay.
so there's no way around avoiding a cut of the pavement,
Gotcha.
unfortunately.
Thank you.
Is there any way, and I think manager and I kind of discussed that too, where they could tap into one of the services going to one of the houses there? Is that just, it wouldn't be enough water pressure?
Yeah, the supply usually out there are all like
Yeah.
1 inch. So obviously, if you try to tie 2 homes to a 1 inch, there's
Yeah.
the demand issue on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Corkery?
So if this did pass, who would pay for the cutting of the street, the attachment of the main? Would the contractor pay for that?
Yes.
Would any of that cost fall on the village at all?
No, that's all part of the redevelopment.
So this is more concern about long-term costs of degradation of streets and.
It's, yeah, especially with a brand-new street. I mean, this
Right.
was just done, less than a year ago. And settlement over time, and, you've got a brand-new roadway. And no matter how good you're gonna do, eventually that's gonna settle out and, they'll have trouble with the road,
Shortly.
the roadbed. Trustee Kozar?
So the alternative is you don't cut the road and you don't build the house.
That's
right?
correct.
So what about the option or alternative that they put an amount of money in escrow in addition to, cutting it and fixing it, amount in escrow to maintain and repair that cut in the road over whatever perhaps the director thinks is the, time frame when it's going to need continued maintenance?
I don't know, maybe a question for the manager or the director.
Your Honor, may I suggest maybe Director Guerrero can explain a little bit about the reconstructed roadway that's a monolithic form right now and what happens when you cut into it. And maybe as he's discussing that, he can think about the escrow amount, what might be appropriate. And since it was done in the fall of 2020, Your Honor and Board, you're probably talking 6.5 years of an escrow amount.
Your Honor?
Go ahead, yes, please.
Yes, as Manager Keener has stated, when you cut the roadway, right now, that's all buried in uniform trench, compacted. It's all compacted at the same rate because it was all installed at the same time. So whenever we cut, and I believe President Kazone has indicated, we haul out some of that soil, some of that aggregate, and we recompact. That compaction is not going to reach the same amount as the surrounding area. Either going to be a little bit denser or it's going to be a little bit lighter. So you're going to have a settlement issue between the two patches. In addition, you have additional seams in the pavement. Anytime you have a seam in the pavement, that allows water infiltration. Water infiltration is really, water is very powerful. and that will ruin a lot of items. So that would require additional long-term maintenance of sealing those cracks or those seams. And that's why it's just generally we will want some term out of life out of the pavement before we start cutting open. As Manager King stated, by the code would probably require that escrow for 6.5 years to hit that 7-year requirement to maintain that location. And looking about the cost, if you do about a 3-foot trench across there of that depth, you're looking at probably in the magnitude of about $4,000 that would need to be set in escrow during that time frame. And we would probably look for a cash escrow, because indication if you go into a bond or those sort of items, it's a very lengthy process, a very kind of a difficult process to get that money out of a bond versus a cash escrow where that money would be available if needed right away.
Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, a couple of questions for you. So just to clarify, if we vote against this tonight, this resident will not be able to bring this up again until 2027, according to our code?
That is 27 years from the pavement of the road, which was 2020, so yes, 2027.
So my next question then is...
Excuse me, you could bring it up in 2 years, once there's a new board.
Yeah, he's talking about the physical part.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next question that I have for you then is, has the escrow been brought to the attention of the homeowners? Has it been brought to their attention so that way they know that this might be an option?
I believe, and legal counsel Orr can correct me, by the code, I'm only allowed to grant variances of certain magnitudes, and therefore by the code I could not grant any variance. Any variance would have to come before this board, or any change of that ordinance would have to come before this board. So it was not discussed as that was not a power that I would have under the current code.
Trustee Slow.
Was there any prior notification to us rehabbing this road that there might possibly be a home looked at to be built in this area that could have gave us a little
Unfortunately,
heads up?
With our staff, no, there's no indication that this lot was looking to be sold or developed at the time.
Okay.
And when we sent out notifications to the residents, obviously at the beginning of the construction project, looking for participation, a lot of times that's when we receive notifications of those.
I just wondered if there was any type of planning that was being reviewed or anything.
There was none at the time of planning or construction of the roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, if this motion was tabled to our next meeting, would the village have enough time to communicate with the property owner to see if the escrow route would be feasible for them?
Director.
I would probably lend to legal counsel, or I think there is some time frame in the ordinance, but I don't know how that corresponds.
Yeah, but it came up, we had to respond within so many days. Our response is, and if there's an objection to it, is for you to table it to the next meeting to see if something can be worked out. You're right.
Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to table this to our next stated meeting at July 12th, so that way the village has time to communicate with the resident to see if this would be a valid option for them.
I represent the homeowner, or the property owner, he's actually here. And if it's a $4,000 escrow, he is willing.
Well, you have to come to the microphone. You can't talk from there.
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Stanley Scoop, and I'm an attorney, and I represent Scora Investments LLC, the property owner. So rather than come back in 2 weeks, I did speak with my client in the back, and if it's a matter of a $4,000 escrow or someplace in that ballpark, he would be willing to put it up.
Okay.
And it could be a cash escrow.
Manager Keener, you were looking at $4,000 for the 6.5 years, correct?
Yeah,
Each year?
Yeah,
Oh, $4,000 a year.
Per year.
Understood.
Right, is that correct, Director? Okay.
may I, Your Honor?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, and Your Honor and Board, I mean, $4,000 seems rather inexpensive to cut a 3-foot trench across the roadway. Director Guerrero, is that a 30-foot roadway?
It's roughly about 22 feet.
Okay, so I'm a few feet off. So, Your Honor and Board, as you cut into this monolithic surface, 4,000 probably is going to be on a little bit on the light side of funding. Think about when it's cut and it kind of starts to fail maybe after one winter, maybe 16 months, and then we'll probably trench it again and tap it down and then resurface. So may need as much as 4 times that much, something like that, just to make sure that throughout the next 6.5 years that the village doesn't have to dip into its roadway funds to repair the roadway. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Nothing else to add.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment. The village has been working very hard to improve the quality of our streets. We're not finished yet. We still have a ways to go. From my perspective, the escrow is a wholehearted effort, but it negatively impacts the road quality that we just improved for any resident that's using that roadway. And I think that's taking a step backwards from what we've been working so hard to achieve. Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
I have a question. What the effect of the trench, the road basically will break down is the feeling in that area because of the differences. But my question is, what is the impact on that road to, is it to all the residents around there? Is it basically to that particular house? Or is it to the 6 houses around there? Or is it to everybody who goes down the street?
It would be to everybody that goes on that street, because
Okay.
it's, the street is what's getting impacted. Because if
Okay.
you ever see where, there's a water main break, and after the main break, they'll fix the road, and then over time, that'll settle out, or, for snow plowing, it'll start getting chipped away, and then they'll have to come back and redo it. It's never as good as the original when the whole street's done.
So the only option then is not to allow the water connection at this point?
That's correct. It would mean he would not be able to develop.
If you don't want the road impacted.
That's correct. Okay. Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, Manager Keener, you said roughly $4,000 a year in that time frame. I think first of all, I'd like to say we have a petitioner here that is trying to build a home in Villa Park, add another home to our community, another family to our community. He owns this property. I understand the dilemma in the repair of the streets. However, with the number that you gave us, if this is the number that you said per year would be able to maintain that area in escrow, I still think that we should give the petitioner a chance to communicate the specifics with the village. So I still would like to table this item until our next stated meeting, July 12th. So that way the village can communicate to see if having an escrow for this a resident would be a possibility.
If that is a motion to table and it is seconded, there can be no more discussion on the matter, but simply a vote on the motion to table.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Check. Trustee Kozar, second. Okay. Any other?
You
Oh, we can't.
must
Okay,
vote.
that's right. Okay.
This
Okay.
is a
This is a
motion
vote to table this until our next meeting.
Right, okay. Roll call ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
No.
Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Kazone?
No.
So it is therefore still on the table.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
So, based on my experience, it would seem that about a $10,000 to $12,000 escrow would be more appropriate. If you've got 6 years until the end of that 7-year time frame, and this road were to be replaced every other, or this strip would be replaced every other year, I would be surprised if it was replaced every other year. But I think that every other year there could be some patching and some maintenance done to it. Because over time that patch would compact naturally. So it would become more and more resilient over time. The difference between having a bump in a road versus the tax revenue that comes from building a house and the growth that comes from building a house, and the idea that we're going to try to build as a community because we don't want a bump in the road. I understand that we want our roads to look nice, but the reason we make, one of the reasons that we use asphalt to do our roads is so that it is capable of being cut into and things can be changed and moved versus using concrete. So we've got a bump in the road, you know, versus a beautiful road and no house on there. It just, the cost benefit just doesn't seem to be there. So I would like the board to consider allowing this builder, or any builder for that matter, to build a home, and other builders who are watching this meeting or hearing about this meeting, knowing that although it may be a tough decision and we don't necessarily want to disrupt our roads, we're willing to do it because we want to see growth and we want to see new homes come into our town.
Trustee Corkery?
Do we have any kind of ballpark on the property tax gain that we would get versus how much we'd be losing on the road repair, or, you know, not terribly
I don't know what
specific?
they're planning around there in the whole, yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on the size of the house and, you know, the value of it once it's done.
Do we have an estimate from the builder?
Excuse me? Yeah.
Do we have an estimate from the builder?
So the initially proposed plan would be for a 2,600 split level home with an attached garage. I'm not sure what your tax rates on those types of houses here are, but, and it would be a brick home.
Do you have a ballpark on the real estate value?
In the range of $500,000.
Okay.
Trustee Patrick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to add that this would be a family moving into our neighborhood that would also be shopping local, shopping in our stores, giving back to our community as well. So I don't think it's all about just tax dollars, but I think it comes out with $8,000 roughly for taxes when we are talking about having, what did we say, 16 to 20 in escrow?
10 to 12.
10 to 12? So you've got $8,000 a year for property taxes when you would have $10,000 in escrow.
Okay, thank you. What I'd like, what would you feel comfortable with, Manager Keener, as an escrow for this? I mean, before we, you know, get everybody's hopes up.
You're just putting me on the spot, aren't you?
Hey, we didn't table it, so.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, I think if Trustee Kozar's amount would be acceptable, I think that would be fine for staff. The right around the 12,000 amount. And Your Honor, maybe at the end of the escrow time period, if it's not used, it could be rebated back to the developer.
Trustee Murphy?
The discussion about the escrow is not a part of this motion, so it will be difficult to vote on this right now without more specific detail regarding the escrow and what we would do if the repairs go over the amount of the escrow. So it's sounding to me like this would need to be amended before we were to vote on it.
That's correct. We would have to amend it.
We can do it if you're on.
Yeah, we can do it here. Yep. Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I would like to amend the motion to include.
No, this is a new motion.
I'm sorry.
First, we have to put the motion on
Okay.
the floor.
Okay.
Then you have to amend it.
Okay.
Okay.
So the motion on the floor that's recommended is to sustain the Public Works Director.
Okay.
So you are going to make that motion and then move to alter, to overrule with the understanding that there would be a $12,000 escrow, cash escrow. Can I help you?
Okay.
All right. Just a motion as to what is on the agenda.
Motion to overturn.
It's the motion on the floor is to sustain, as I recall. Motion to, oh, or overrule, okay. So your motion could be to put the motion on the floor to overrule the Public Works Director, and then we will amend it to add the escrow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do I make that now?
Yes.
You make a
Okay.
motion to overrule the decision
Okay.
of the Public Works.
I would like to make a motion to overrule Public Works Director so that way we can amend this to include the $12,000 escrow.
Okay. We have a second? Trustee Solella?
Right, so now we ask for amendments to the motion.
Okay. We have an amendment to the motion.
Mr. President, I
Yes.
would like to make the motion to amend it so that way the petitioner will have the opportunity to determine whether or not 12,000, or,
The motion that we amend would be, Mayor.
absolutely.
So it is a motion to amend the motion to overrule on the condition that the developer set up a $12,000 cash escrow for 6.5 years.
And that was a recommendation?
I'm sorry.
That is a motion to amend. The motion is to overrule the Public Works Director. That is on the table. But now we've had an amendment to that motion, that the motion now says to overrule the decision of the Public Works Director on the condition that the property owner establishes an escrow in the amount, cash escrow in the amount of $12,000 for a period of 6.5
Should we
years.
say until 12/31/2026?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Until 12/31/2026.
2027.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 27.
Okay, I'm just writing this down so that way you can get it. Okay.
So is there a second to the amendment?
No.
Trustee Solella?
Yeah, we have Solella.
Okay.
So first we vote on the amendment, then we vote on the motion as amended.
Okay, so right now, so we're voting to put on the amended motion, which is to overrule the denial with a $12,000 escrow, cash escrow, until December 31st, 2027.
Yes.
So that is what we're voting on right now?
Just the amendment. yes.
Just the amendment. Okay. Trustee
Can I
Martin?
make a comment?
Sure.
Or are we past that point? I just would like to see additional detail documented in there. We don't have any solid fact on what this repair cost is going to be, and if we don't put in a contingency in here with what we're going to do, if we exceed that escrow, then we've just taken on additional expenses on behalf of the village.
Trustee Kozar?
The counter argument to that is, at the end of spending $12,000 to repair the road, we've got maybe months left in this time frame. And if taxes are $8,000 a year, we've already brought in $50,000 of added tax revenue, not to mention the collateral revenue coming from a family living here, shopping in our village.
We only get 14 cents.
We don't get $8,000.
Okay, yeah.
Can I make?
That's true if we get $50,000 in property tax, but we'd only have 14% of that the village would get.
So another $7,000 to $10,000 that the village gets.
And
Trustee
that
Kumar.
also was an overestimate, because out of that 7 to 10,000, some expenses would have to be already accrued by the village. It's not all going towards fixing the road.
Another thing to think about too on this is, we've already had several businesses, residents that have asked to do this, and we've turned them down in the past, and this may open up a lot of, in the future, fixing a road, and then a year later, somebody's gonna ask to do it, so. Trustee Kozar?
So the slippery slope argument is frequently used, and if that is the case, we will learn from this moving forward, that maybe the escrow is too high, maybe it isn't, maybe we should add to it. It has been previous boards that have denied it, but I think, as a general rule, what I would like to see, not just our board, but our village, becoming is just more accepting. So if more builders are coming in wanting to build more houses and new construction and bringing more people and families into this town, we should look at it on a case-by-case basis and not be concerned of this hypothetical slippery slope argument that maybe this or maybe that might happen. We'll look at it on an individual case-by-case basis.
Okay. Trustee Slow.
We're a little bit past this, but if we go ahead and do this open cut and supply water services, is there any other development in that area that would benefit by having an additional water line put in at the same time, or sewer? If we don't know, maybe look into it before we close the sewer up a second time, if we choose to do this route.
Yeah, it doesn't, looking at the aerial, it doesn't look like it, but I don't know. Manager Keener?
Your Honor, I'm looking at the aerial too.
Yeah.
I think that's the only empty lot, so
Yeah.
the rest are
It looks like
already.
the businesses on the west side of the L.
The thought that you.
Yeah, sure. Good thought. Trustee Kumar?
How many, you said there's been quite a few that you've denied in the past. My question is, how many such lots are there that don't have this privilege that you anticipate in the near future?
I don't know if it's been so much new construction, but upgrades, businesses want to maybe upgrade their service. I don't think there's been a lot of them, but I know there's been a couple in the past few years.
So it's not
It's not a
terribly
big-
common.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I don't have a problem overruling the denial, but I am concerned about voting to move forward with these specifics that have just been discussed on a cursory basis. I think additional discussion regarding the escrow amount and the contingencies, if we use the money, don't use the money, I think at this point it's premature to move to that direction. Thank you.
Question for our attorney, could we build that into the escrow agreement? Anything, if it does cost more than $12,000 that the current or the present owner would have to pay for it?
The problem is, he's a developer, and so I'm assuming it would be sold to a family. We can put that into the agreement, but I need to advise you that it's not as firm an agreement as if the resident himself or herself were building the lot. And it usually is a developer, so.
Trustee Kozar?
If, I believe the mechanism, if we wanted to put another motion up to continue this, would be one of the no votes would have to make that motion. And then we could continue it. We could have another motion
Because we had
to-
a motion to table and it failed.
Right, but one of the no votes
Correct.
can make that same motion, and then we can discuss it over the course of 2 weeks and see if we can hammer out the nuances of it, and also not have to put the builder directly on the spot, and see if this actually makes sense. But that would have to come from a no vote.
I would make that motion.
Were you a no vote on the table?
Yes.
We need a second, please. This is a motion to reconsider.
I will no vote on the table tonight.
So take a vote on, new vote on, oh goodness, voiding the, I don't know. Voiding the vote on the table so we can re-vote on it.
Okay.
So to remove the table, no. To sustain the table, that's what it would be. Thank you. I'm sorry. To sustain the table, please vote.
I'm confused.
Okay, so just vote on that?
Right, it would be to table to the next regular meeting.
All right, so this is a vote
To
to
sustain.
sustain the table
to
and
the
move it
next regular
to
meeting.
July 12th, 2021. Clerk Kornecki?
Okay. Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salela?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
No. Okay, so we will move that to July 12th, and we don't have to worry about the other motion?
Correct, because the table takes precedence over all prior motions.
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, so just to clarify, this will give the village an opportunity to speak with the developer and the petitioner and work out those fine numbers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, you would just, yes, on non-agenda items.
Okay, we'll move to item 12, public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have any signed up?
Yes, I have Mike Orlowski as a non-agenda. I have to do with sandbags.
How you doing? Mike Orlowski, part of the CERT team in the Community Emergency Response Team. We're usually out there whenever the weather's bad, incidents are bad, whatever. Anyways, the reason that I come here tonight is there was some comments that were made on social media in regards to sandbags, on who is eligible to use sandbags. Me as one in the CERT team that have shoveled many sandbags for, and we never even asked whether they were residents or anything. If you wanted sandbags, we were here to give them to you to help protect whatever you were going to sandbag. So I'm here tonight to ask the village board, village staff, whenever the village puts sandbags out, who's eligible for those sandbags? And the reason that I'm asking is because I tell many people about the sandbags that the village puts out, whether it be a resident, business, as long as they're in the village. I feel that they would be accessible to anybody in our community. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay. Manager Keener, would you like to address that one?
Thank you, Your Honor. The sandbags that we fill as a Villa Park staff team, if you will, they're available to anyone. We don't check any driver's license to make sure you're on our board if they live or reside or have a business within Villa Park. In fact, very few times are we there when the residents pick them up. But I understand there were some comments on social media over the weekend and some emails, etc. But those sandbags are for anyone that needs them. And we did have staff again this weekend come in and fill up some more. And in fact, I commented to Director Guerra that once we sent out the code red, he and I were speaking on Friday, a lot of folks, as many I think as 10 vehicles at one time came and got some sandbags at once. And so I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, using the code red and during that pre-rain event, which didn't really amount to much, 1 to 2 inches or so, which Director Guerra probably briefed us in a little bit. But again, Your Honor, aboard the sandbags are for anybody, business or resident that shows up that needs them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to make sure I don't speak out of turn whenever I tell people.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Clerk Benecke, anyone else?
No, I have no one
That's
else
it.
signed up.
Do we have any other comments on non-agenda items? Okay. Then we will go back to item 9C. And since we tabled that till next meeting, this is discussion only on those items. Okay. So I don't, Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, I feel like this is an everything in the sink ordinance that we're correcting. So I want to take it in pieces to go through. One thing I saw, and I'm just going to discuss the redlined items as were proposed, is a reference to outdoor accessories and noise level that was added, which said they should reference Chapter 15, Article 6.
What section are you talking here?
It's at the very beginning, right? I finally got my computer up, so. for the delay. Someone else wants to speak? They can speak first till I pull it up.
What's that?
Can you have someone else speak
Okay,
till
sure.
I pull it up?
Okay. You know, Trustee Corkery.
So I think most of the things that are in here are pretty common sense. You know, I like the pulling back some of the setback restrictions. There's just a couple that I thought were kind of odd. I had some questions about. I think the most confusing one for me is the one about no entertainment, number 7. I know that this one is an entirely red line, so part of this might just go to P and Z. But my confusion stems from no entertainment, whether live, recorded, or otherwise, is permitted in the outdoor seating area. Then it says immediately after that, noise is to comply with the regulations found in Article 6 of Chapter 15. If you look at Article 6, a lot of the noises it talks about are things like speakers, musical instruments, things that I would think would qualify as entertainment. So if entertainment is banned, but noise from instruments is to comply with Article 6 of Chapter 15, then are musical instruments not entertainment? And if that's not the case, what is?
Yeah, that was the inconsistency that I was just meaning to point out. There are some inconsistencies in this changes proposed, first of all. The second thing, second issues I had were with regards to permanent outdoor storage containers. There was a couple of things that were added to here. And I have some reasons to ask for those decisions, if someone in planning and zoning could explain. One is, I can understand the setbacks. There is a, screened from public view with a privacy screen. Okay, a restriction. And my thing with that is, I'm just thinking that there are different aesthetics involved with building properties, and aesthetics are going to be different from property to property. And it's a very specific change for that. I think it should be more less specific in terms of aesthetics to begin with, because maybe you want to paint it. Or you want to put a decoration on a storage container. There's so many possibilities for it, depending on if you have a paintball thing or something. It's about aesthetics overall. And okay. I would rather there be a clear-cut percentage of property that can be covered by a particular storage unit or storage units, rather than a number per se, because there is that already, I think, somewhere at the top of the thing. I just think that's a little bit easier depending, again, on the aesthetics of a particular business.
Well, I think that the idea behind that is so that, if somebody's got a large yard and doesn't have 50 containers out there, I think that's the reason that a specific size of the container was done. If I'm,
is it a specific size, or it's
square-
the percent? It should be percentage area, like a building or a particular firm or a particular area. I mean, Walmart, for instance, is not the same as a small place, or
Right.
and they may have 3 storage containers and be quite fine in their parking lot, versus if I look at I don't know what Jewel, or even, which is a little smaller, or what other, I don't know which other
I think the
places.
problem with that is if you put a percentage on there, then a place like Walmart could have 50 containers. If you say only 3% or 5% of the larger the size, the more containers are going to be allowed. So I think that, and Justin, I don't know if you want to.
Is it just 1 or 2, or
Although
what's our restriction?
that's
It looks like
actually,
there's
that's
just
not
one.
being changed though. That's already in there. So that's not even being changed.
Oh, it's only 1.
Yeah.
That's allowed, that's automatically in there.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
So, for starters, we're looking at 6.10.2, residential accessory buildings and structures. Can you tell me what the difference between an accessory building versus an accessory structure is?
I'm sorry, what was it again? What's the?
6.10.2. I'm just looking for the difference between an accessory building versus an accessory structure. Mr. President, I'm not necessarily directing that towards you, but maybe somebody from community development or
It's defining it under C, right? Accessory structures are like sheds.
and I don't necessarily need that
No, that's-
definition now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're tabling it, so that's something
Yeah.
that could come back
Okay.
for the sake of time. In addition, while we're on that section, if you look down at, we're under 6.10.2, under A2, it reads number allowed per lot, and then A is only one accessory building is allowed per lot. And then you go to C, and it says the minimum number of enclosed accessory structures, such as a shed, shall not exceed 2 per zoning lot. So, is it 1 or is it 2?
Can you give those sites so I can write this all down?
Do you want them now, or can
No,
I
no,
just do it
what-
after the fact?
Yeah, yeah, I just
I'll
didn't
be
catch
happy to
this
just kind of walk
section.
through all this
Yeah.
with you after that.
Yeah.
The height requirement on garage doors is currently set at 8, so this would be a new matter. I think that in some occasions, a 10-foot door would work on a particular building.
Is that one of the changes that were proposed?
It is not.
No,
Okay, that's a new.
Correct.
Right, so I want to keep it listed.
And maybe, Ms. Orr, if after the meeting, or sometime throughout the week, I can walk through these and save everybody time, and then you can just advise how best to.
Oh, yeah, and actually, I'd like to make that suggestion, you know, to get,
I'd be happy to do that.
yeah, if everyone, whatever your changes or comments are, if you could get them in an email and send them out to myself and Manager Keener and the village attorney.
In order to avoid the public meetings rule, I think this would be a good occasion just to even just throw out the ideas for changes so that everybody kind of knows where other people on the board are headed. They can take notes, and then we can get more specific after. Under 8, we're still under that same section, 610.2. Under 8, all accessory buildings and structures must be constructed, and then the key words here are with eaves, gutters, and downspouts that are directed. I think that should just read, all accessory buildings and structures must be constructed to direct water away from adjacent properties.
Okay, yeah, so that's a new one, that would have to,
Right.
to go to P and Z.
We've got 6.10.3. It doesn't appear that there's any change to there, so unless I'm missing something, it's kind of unnecessary to restate it in there. We have 611.2 permitted uses. Number 7, this was Mr. Corkery's point. Number 7 reads, no entertainment, so on and so on. Perhaps this is the change occurs here as a Scrivener's error, where it should just read entertainment, whether live, recorded, or otherwise, is permitted in the outdoor seating. Noise shall comply with regulations found in, so on and so forth. I too agree with Mr. Corkery's comment that entertainment should be allowed. And then if we jump into Article 6 of Chapter 15, the noise ordinance, I believe that that should be rewritten to say it is unlawful to play music outside using an intercom system between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. on any property, so on and so forth. But I think that subjective part about 10 feet from the property, based on how this is written, a baby crying can be heard over 10 feet away. Certainly that baby's not subject to the nuisance ordinance. But to have time restrictions in the evening would seem to make sense. Moving down to number 12, I think that whole paragraph should be stricken, that you don't need a permit to have outdoor seating. I think your customer should dictate if they want to sit outside. We're hardy Midwestern people, and the pandemic has showed us that there are nice days in the wintertime. Moreover, that you shouldn't have to get a permit to do it or have to remove all outdoor furniture. It seems overly restrictive. In terms of outdoor storage containers, when I motioned to table this on that initial meeting, because there was so much packed into this, and I didn't want to see the board start off rubber stamping something that wasn't fully vetted and gone through, I asked if anybody was subject to any violations, and it was stated that nobody was currently pending a violation, and that the memo that was sent to all of us said that I believe there was 21 pending violations thereabouts. So whatever the nuance of that fact is, I think that anybody with an outdoor storage container should be made privy to what is before them, so that they're aware. Simply posting something in the newspaper or having it on our agenda on something like this, in terms of being transparent and working with community and businesses, I don't think it would be all that much more effort to just notify the businesses with containers so that they can perhaps review this and give some input. To that fact, some of the businesses that do have shipping containers have brought to my attention, number one, under temporary, how do we kind of resolve this temporary proposed statute with, say, Walmart, who has multiple shipping containers come Christmas time, and they need it to conduct their business. Nobody's complaining about Walmart, but we're putting them in violation. Sure, they may be in violation now for temporary, but they may have a need for more than one temporary outdoor storage. I think number 2 should just be outright stricken, and we can again look at that on a case-by-case basis. Number 6, if we're talking about outdoor storage containers, a storage container is about 8.5 feet tall. So right off the bat, that would negate anybody having a storage container, or a shipping container, I should say, because of the size. And 130 square feet, if that's a 20-foot shipping container, would be more than 130 square feet. So number 6 might require some revision or some clarification. Item number 13 on both A and B, I think what you're getting at here is simply occupancy. No shipping container would be allowed occupancy, and that would cover it. You can't conduct business out of something that you don't have occupancy for. Under B, you've got placed on paved surfaces. There are currently shipping containers that have been out in Villa Park for over 20 years for some of our local businesses that are sitting on gravel. Part of the draw for a shipping container versus just building a shed is the fact that it's all self-contained, it's mobile in the sense that it can be picked up, moved, removed. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a paved surface. It's not footers, it's not going to crack, it's not like a deck as the ground freezes and thaws and everything else. It's a solid thing, so I think that number 4 could be stricken, unless there's good argument as to why it needs to be on a paved surface, or at least allow them to put it on some gravel or something that allows drainage, if that's even an issue. But I think 4 should be stricken. Looking under 7.85, circular driveways. is it necessary that our town get to the minutia of detail that is saying that we need low-growing evergreen shrubs installed and maintained along the length of a circular driveway? Is there anything so aesthetically displeasing that our Villa Park residents need to have mandated that low-growing evergreen shrubs be planted? It just seems kind of overreaching. If we look at 11.3.13, effective period of planned unit development, this takes a lot of decision power away from the board and gives it to the community development director. While I don't have a problem with the community development director making suggestions to the board and sharing insight for particular projects, I would like to see the board, under 2, the board to consider allowing construction to commence and proceed for a period of time exceeding 3 years, so on and so forth. And under number 3, I'd like to see the village board extending time limits. It's simply just coming to a meeting and making the case for why construction hasn't started. If the board's going to grant it to begin with, they should run with the project for the entire time. Let's see, additionally, we have here the waiving of notice under C. It is the builder, in this case, who would be sending the notice, paying for the notice. I think that notice is important. We've seen just with Garden Station how important it is that the community at least knows what's going on. So I would not be for waiving notice under C. At the end of this section, which is 11.3.13 that we're on, there's a standalone sentence that says, any proposed development is subject to meeting these standards and community development, subject to staff approval, including CDPW and village engineer. When it says these standards and community development, what is it subject to with community development? Is there just a way to better word this to the approval of community development, or, I mean, what are we trying to say here?
What section?
That's the standalone sentence at the end of 11.3.13. Again, when we're, let's see, we talked about waiving notice, what this means. In 11.6.5, again, no public notice. I would like to see public notice in this paragraph or in this section.
Trustee, is there quite, you still got a lot left?
Well, just yeah,
as a matter of time tonight.
Yeah.
I think we're better
I
off.
would love to separate this and go through each one individually, but
Yeah,
we
but-
were given this large packet and it was brought back on the table. If there's another way that we can get together and have discussion on this, I would love to do it. And it is going to take time. When you
But see, we're
present-
not, yeah, but the only thing is, we're not here to discuss anything that's not redlined. Anything that's not redlined has to go to P and Z.
But wouldn't it make sense if we're going to change the ordinances to actually change them as a total, not just bite by bite, bit by bit?
I don't think at this time, I think we just need to get this ordinance, the red line, get those passed, and then we can discuss a lot, because you're looking at a lot of changes, and that's not going to be done.
There's
you know,
15
in a
things that
while.
were presented to this board.
Yeah. I would recommend your changes, your comments on the red lines. I would recommend getting that to the board. And if you want to do maybe 2-on-2s with the manager or 2-on-2s with P and Z just to discuss it, I think that's a better way. First of all, I mean, tonight's not the night. I think if you can get all of your comments to the board as a whole, in an email, on the red line. And then if you'd like,
I don't know how
Yeah.
I would do that with Public Meetings Act.
you can send it out to everyone. We just can't, you can't reply all. That's the only thing. You can send out an email to the entire board with your comments. And then if you'd like, we can always do 2-on-2s, with the village manager or with trustees, and then discuss it, and then we can come back on the 12th and then give it a final discussion. I think that's a better way than going through everything tonight. And like I say, anything that's not redlined that you'd like changed, it's separate, it's totally separate from what we're gonna be doing right now. Because that we can't change. We can't change that anyway. That's gotta go to P and Z. So I think,
So my
let's
question,
get the red lines taken care of, and then we can look at the other issues.
so maybe Ms. Orr can point me to the direction, the statute that tells me why it necessarily goes back to P and Z, just because I'm trying to juxtapose when we did Garden Station. Normally what happens is P and Z makes a ruling or determination, and then the following meeting it comes back and it's passed. They review the minutes, they approve the minutes, then it's handed up. In that last meeting, it was just, went through P and Z, the minutes weren't approved, it was handed up, and the answer for it was just that P and Z is just an advisory committee. They don't necessarily have to approve it. So if you could direct me.
So there are two different issues. The P and Z has all different levels of approval. When you have a new PUD development, they are to have a public hearing on it and then make a recommendation whether it should be adopted as it is. When it comes before the board can say, yes, I like this PAD, but I think that there should be more setback or whatever. But it's had one hearing there, a second hearing here. What we're doing here is very, very different, a different realm of the P and Z. And the code says that anytime you amend our zoning code, which is what we're doing, it has to go to a public hearing at the P and Z and then come up here. So those issues that have been discussed at a public hearing before the P and Z are the red line. You are giving us, which is fine, a second list of considerations for text amendments to the zoning code. So my conclusion is, or my suggestion, I don't know, whatever you want to think, is that respond yay or nay or your comments on what has been discussed by the P and Z. That's one memo to the board. Another memo to the board would be your suggestions as to the sections, which they make a lot of sense to me, where the suggestions of new proposed text amendments, which would then go to P and Z and then come up here for discussion. That's our procedure. It's the procedure in all municipalities that any text amendments to the zoning code, any new developments first go to a P and Z for a public hearing and then come up here with their comments and or their recommendations or their lack of a recommendation.
You refer to code, that what you just explained is codified?
Yes, it is in our zoning code that
In the
says
zoning code.
any amendments to the zoning code,
Okay.
any text amendments. And yes, and we can go through that too. So, yeah.
So
I didn't make up the process, nobody in this room did.
No,
Yeah.
hey, I'm
Yeah.
learning, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room that's learning at the same time. I like the idea of breaking out with a couple of trustees and somebody from the village, and working on these. There's a lot here. We should work very hard to get it right. If this is what's presented of us, I don't think, I'm not aware that any of the other trustees has specifically requested this to come in front of them, but this is the task that we're giving, and we should be doing our best to do it, because it affects everybody in Villa Park. Thank you.
All right. So you'll get emails, you can send it out to everyone on the board. And then if you'd like, if any of the trustees would like to get together 2-on-2s, after trustee Kozar sends them out, we can definitely set that up.
So we
Kumar.
can't comment on that email, I'm correct, right? We can just
You
receive.
you cannot reply to everyone, to the
Oh.
entire board. Trustee Kozar can send out an email saying, you know, these are the items that I would like changed. Now, you can respond to him directly, but you cannot respond to the entire board saying, this is what I think. Now, you can respond individually to each member singly. You know, you can, you know, Trustee Corkery, this is what I think. Trustee Murphy, this is what I think.
But as he can send out his.
Correct.
The same way any one of us can send out a message on what we think to the whole board. Am I correct?
Correct.
Oh.
But it can't be like an answer to his.
No.
You can't,
yeah, I
have
can-
a discussion, you know, with the
I
whole
can just
board.
say, I think this,
Correct.
and this should be changed.
Yeah, that's correct.
And send it to the whole board.
That's correct. Am I correct? Trustee
Yes,
Clark?
yes, it's very complicated that we can talk one-on-one so that there's never more than 2 elected officials in a conversation at any given time.
One other question. Suppose, next meeting we meet on this and we discuss it.
Mhm.
Is it a possibility, okay, that we strike out some of it, say no, and then just vote on some of it? And say
Yeah.
yes.
Correct? Yeah.
And then it'll go back to PNC if we're gonna change anything.
No, it's not gonna go back to P and Z. It's already gone through P and Z, so now it's up to us to,
No, we do it, we strike it out, the new code comes in. Basically, there are changes addressed. You either can accept them or not. If we don't, it goes back to the old code. Basically, it stays the old code except for those places that we accept. Then, if we want any changes to that, because that's now a new code, we'd have to set it back to P&C. Am I correct?
Yes,
if we make change.
yes. I mean, the way she explained it is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Okay. And the village attorney also had a suggestion too, we could always have a special meeting just to address it.
With those
so.
trustees that are interested in this
Yeah.
section, to have a meeting, special meeting, single item, the discussion of, the changes to the zoning code and proposed changes to the zoning code.
Which would be an open meeting.
Right.
With the public invited.
That seems,
that'd be a great idea.
that's a good idea. Otherwise, this is gonna go back and forth is my feeling.
Okay?
Should I be making a motion for a special meeting?
No, that is something that the village, the rules on that, because there's a rule on everything, is the village president may call a special meeting, or any trustee, 3 trustees may call a special meeting. So if our village president agrees to call a special meeting, then you don't need 3 trustees.
But I'd like to, let's start with sending out an email with all your questions or your comments and changes. And if anybody else has them, send them out too, to the board, and then we can look at those and decide on that.
So no, the best rule is send out your comments, do not respond to each other, and then you will look at them and determine if we need a meeting.
Yeah, correct. Okay?
Okay.
Good.
May I also request that they be in 2 separate, so the new changes versus commenting on what's been changed, so that
Yeah.
we know what we can vote on and we know what has to go back.
Correct, yeah, right now, just comments on red line items. No, nothing
okay.
different, yeah.
Okay.
We can go move on after that, because I think that's gonna be enough. There's gonna be a lot of discussion on that. Okay? All right, any other comments? Okay. Move to village clerk's report.
Okay, just want to remind residents about the Kiwanis Summer Concert coming up. The first one is July 7th. It's every Wednesday evening in July at the Prairie Path and the Gazebo. And concessions open at 6, and the concerts begin at 6:30. Everyone is welcome.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, village trustees report. We will start on my left. Trustee Kumar.
I would like to start by first giving my report on the Economic Development Board as the liaison. Plans were made by the board to start reaching out to local businesses and asking them questions on how to improve, retain, and increase businesses in Villa Park, as well as relay the purpose of economic development to solicit input at large. I believe this will foster a good database of information to springboard healthy business development in our town. And I ask our citizens first and local businesses also to check out the Yes Villa Park webpage with its catchy tune to get accurate information on how to first shop locally. However, along with accurate information, there has been a great deal of misinformation predominating amongst the board and in the room that is concerning. As an emissary of the public, I believe it is my job to dispel my misinformation and promote transparency by setting the facts straight. For example, a statement was made by a concerned citizen that there were plans to close Jefferson Pool and Iowa Community Center, become Villa Park. There is in fact no such plan, so I do not want misinformation predominating. Also, at the last meeting, most likely due to the time-consuming process that Trustee Kozar faced in proving the required incidental condition, which is currently a part of Illinois state law for the holding of liquor licenses, certain contentious statements were made targeting other board members and the public. As I honestly believe that a friendly board would be best for the Village of Villa Park, I would also like to set some more facts straight. I'm genuinely happy to be on the board with all the members sitting up here. With me as they bring different perspectives to the table. These varying perspectives allow us best to support Villa Park citizens. As for the law under question, prior to August 2019, the state did not allow municipal officers to hold elected office and hold liquor licenses concurrently. In 2019, the state law was relaxed, but retained quite specific criteria that elected officials must meet. In April 26, the village changed the code to mirror the state law, relaxed in 2019, but there was little time to clearly define at that point incidental or actually the revised code, and defining the process happened after the fact. I discussed the interpretation just as a new trustee with 4 different attorneys, and was given 4 vastly different interpretations of that same code. And as we are a non-home rule municipality, we must at least minimally follow state restrictions, as difficult as they may be. So correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Orr. As a non-home rule municipality, our laws can be more strict, but not less strict than the state on this issue.
That is correct, but the state code only prohibits, in one section, a mayor or the village president from having a liquor license.
Okay.
Okay.
That, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to clarify that Trustee Murphy was simply acting on the behalf of the people of Villa Park when she provided information to the Liquor Commission and monitored the process to make sure the state law was in fact followed and mirrored. Ensuring that the laws are followed is not actually bullying behavior on her part, and I am sure that was not Trustee Murphy's actual purpose. And so following this, I thought the process was following the process like getting Trustee Kozar to work through FSA at travel, right? He's trying to get through something, and that's why he actually had to prove incidental. In retrospect, maybe there have been changes or to the law that were not understood. Okay, so I wanted to point out that Trustee Murphy actually voted to change the Villa Park ordinance to relax the liquor laws as related to trustees because it was the right thing to do on April 26th and said that she wanted to mirror what was done by the state of Illinois, and for the village board to remain transparent, effective. There cannot be any semblance of impropriety on the board, as this would be a liability to the entire board and the village. The position of trustee is one of trust, hence the name trustee. To this effect, I would first like to applaud President Cazone and duly appointed liquor commissioners, former President Al Balthius and Ray Ruth Search, for their quick and detailed approach to defining incidental, addressing the liquor license issues, and allowing Trustee Kozar to continue as an effective trustee and liquor license owner in Villa Park. Having met the required criteria, I will ask Trustee Kozar to take one for the team, even if it involves counting cheese curds, and bury the hatchet henceforth so we can effectively move on to support the residents of Villa Park.
Good, thank you.
I'm sorry for that very long-winded statement, but that was my feelings.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corkery.
I don't have too much to say, just once again, Macbeth is coming up last weekend of July. It's going to be at the gazebo right off of Ardmore, right, to think about that, right by the Prairie Path. We spent 3 hours in sword fighting practice yesterday, so don't want to miss this one. And again, just hopefully we can all work together as a board, put aside our personal whatever, and just do what's best for the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I just have one thing tonight. I'd like to thank Public Works for reaching out to our quote-unquote neighbors in Woodridge and offering their assistance with the tornado cleanup from last Sunday. I'm sure we would be hopeful that our villages around us would reach to us in a similar circumstance. So thanks to Public Works.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kozar.
So, you may think that I was harsh with one of my fellow trustees in the last meeting, but I just want to make it clear that as long as I sit on this board, I'm going to bring accountability and transparency to our people and to our village. Should you ever think that I have incorrectly stated the facts, let's discuss facts. And let's do it together, and let's do it cohesively.
Good idea.
But at all times, let us remain accountable and transparent. Thank you.
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. First of all, I want to start out by thanking our staff, the village, for doing such a great job. As usual, I am going to give a shout out to our first responders, our police department and fire department. Also want to thank all of the men and women in uniform serving our country in the armed forces every day out there, giving their all to keep us safe here at home. We've got 4 months until till October comes, and Halloween is going to be soon approaching. Now, Trustee Corkery at the other end there has been working closely with the Community Pride Commission, and they have some very, very cool events coming up in the near future for Halloween. I am not going to spoil any of those, so I will let them tell you about those when the time is right. But what I will say is that the Villa Park Cable Commission will be producing a film that will be in conjunction with one of these events that will be showed on Halloween, which I believe is Sunday this year, Saturday or Sunday this year. But this film is basically a collection of urban legends from here in Villa Park. And we are still accepting submissions for stories from our residents, whether that be ghost stories, scary stories, anything unusual. We want to hear from you. We want to know about these stories, and we would like to get them into our film, which will be released on Halloween during one of these events. So I won't give away what these activities, the events are, but I will say Halloween is going to be a fun place to celebrate right here in Villa Park this year. So if you have any submissions of scary stories whatsoever, please submit them to me. That's Trustee Patrick at invillapark.com. I'm sure you could also submit them to Trustee Corkery and his email address as well. And I encourage you to share them. If you are hesitant on putting your name out there or even your face, we have some of the best video editors out there that can change voices, blur faces, so it's not necessarily about who's telling the story, it's about the story itself. So if you have them, please let us know. It's going to be a fun project that we're working on. And to piggyback off of that, the Villa Park Cable Commission is looking for more members to join the commission. If you want to learn more about video production, editing, we can do all that. You don't have to have any experience whatsoever. If you are interested, please see me. I could tell you more about it and tell you what the commission does. And again, you could reach out to me at Trustee Patrick at invillapark.com. And thank you.
Okay. Trustee Solella.
Just a couple of quick things. I'd like to also commend and thank our Public Works employees and staff that made our mutual aid possible for Woodridge. It's not an easy job to do, cleaning up after a storm. It's tiresome, dirty, and not very pleasant. So, thank you. And lastly, I'd just like to say happy 4th of July. Thank you. Safe and enjoy yourself.
Thank you. Okay. Go to Village President's Report. A couple things I've got. Manager, or I was going to do this, but I'll, just so everyone knows, the Charles Avenue project has been put out for bid. We're awaiting the numbers, and hopefully that will be on the July 12th agenda so we can get that process going. Director Guerrero's over there with his thumbs up, so that's a good thing. Yeah. Love Your Neighbor Day is coming up, September 18th, 2021. This is a day where people who need work done on their homes, around their houses, landscaping, minor renovations inside, electrical outlets, painting. It's a day to get that done. If you know of anybody that needs some help, or if you'd like to volunteer, you can. This is hosted by the Christian Church of Villa Park. You can go to their website, ccvponline.net. It's ccvponline.net, or you can call them at 630-833-7262. This is a great event. I've been involved with this for a couple of years, and it's nice to help out people in need. 4th of July, as Trustee Solella mentioned, is coming up this weekend. I'd like to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July. Brings up the idea of fireworks, though. I know everyone is interested in blowing off fireworks, but it's illegal in Villa Park to do that. And I don't know if Chief Rakosnik, if you'd like to give any comments on the dangers of it. Yeah.
I don't have much to say.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
been illegal for many years.
Yeah. And
Speaking of
Chief,
work, I can tell you a bunch of work.
yeah. But I'm sure fire department's seen plenty of people that have been hurt by them. It is illegal, and the police department will be out checking as best they can. Unfortunately, there's usually a lot of activity, and so if you hear them, you can call 911, but kind of relax if nobody gets out there right away, because they're usually pretty busy on the 4th of July, so. Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, from my understanding too, the fines can be pretty hefty.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
I would just want to add one thing, is that there's also the humanitarian aspect for people with PTSD and pets with the fireworks. We did confiscate a large amount earlier in the week. Our officer did a great job. And then anytime that happens, we have to contact the county bomb squad, so we have to also involve another agency. We can't just destroy these fireworks ourselves or put them in storage, so there's a process.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's a great point, that, people with PTSD, animals, a lot of animals are people, the owners give their pets downers to keep them from going crazy. So just be careful and let the experts do the fireworks. Last thing that I have is Coffee with the Board is scheduled for this Saturday, but being the 4th of July holiday, we will cancel that. We will be back on August 7th would be our next Coffee with the Board. And that's all I have. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have a couple updates this evening. Director Guerrero would like to give everyone a storm update.
Thank you, Manager Keener. Dating back to last Thursday, the village has received several rain events. Over the course of the last 4 days, we received about 3.5 inches of rain, according to the USGS rain meter over at Salt Creek in Elmhurst. On Saturday afternoon, we did receive a short burst, a thunderstorm coming through, where we did receive over 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of rain. It kind of varied as intensities varied across the region. That did cause some roadways to flood. We did have proactively bring in additional public works employees to help kind of mitigate those clogged inlets throughout towns, and additionally make some additional sandbags. We went through about 5 pallets. We still have some sandbags available in the location in front of our garage right next to here, Village Hall, as they are still calling for additional rain throughout this week. We did have to open up our wet weather facility Friday morning. We've been kind of taking in water, draining it to try to keep our capacity at the highest level as possible so that we can continue to take that in. Unfortunately, we did have about 5 calls for sewer backups during that over the Friday morning, Saturday morning rain events. But overall, we're pretty fortunate. A lot of the rain did miss our area, as areas surrounding us did receive more rainfall than us. So overall, we fared fairly well, but we do recommend always keep alert. The manager and I did kind of go back and forth about sending the alert out, but obviously the weather forecasts were calling for some potentially really heavy rains that we saw throughout the state, and so we felt it was best to be proactive to keep the residents informed so they can be prepared as best as possible. So, and I'd like to thank Public Works staff for their time this weekend and maintaining that. And then I can answer any questions that you or the board may have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then I believe Director Scheibel would like to present the board with some financial numbers for revenues and expenditures for the last couple of months, year to date.
Manager Keener. I'd like to provide the board with a summary of the general fund year-to-date revenues and expenses as of May 31st, 2021. As of May 31st, 2021, the general fund year-to-date revenues are $8,108,950, which is an increase over May 2020 year-to-date revenues of $441,594. As of May 31st, 2021, the general fund, excuse me, year-to-date expenses are $7,183,412, which is a decrease under May 2020 year-to-date of $668,342. So as a result, as of May 31st, 2021, the general fund year-to-date revenues are over expenses by $926,415, which is an increase over May of 2020 year-to-date by $1,109,936.
Wow.
There you
Thank
go,
you.
Your Honor.
There we go.
We're hanging in there.
We're hanging in there. Great. Thank you, Director. And thanks to all of our staff for keeping expenses down and keeping us moving along. Okay, with that, we move to adjournment. I will accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Salella, second. Trustee Patrick, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And we will see everyone back July 12th.